All right, what's up, everyone? This is the Awesemo.com NHL Hit the Ice show. I see some of you are already in here waiting for us. I'm here with my friend Steve Homercles Bauer. We're going to talk through the 9-game slate. Steve, how are you doing this evening? Nice slate we got.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. I'm doing all right. It's snow's starting to come down finally in Toronto for the first time of the season, so should get interesting out on the roads. But looking forward to sticking inside and doing the DFS life tonight.
Yeah. We haven't had a huge snowstorm here in Minneapolis area, so that's nice. But it's coming for sure. So
yeah.
I don't know. Do you like the snow?
For walking around, no, I don't mind being outside in it. It's the driving part that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Or, traffic's bad enough in Toronto as it is. You don't need to add weather to it.
Yeah, for sure. I would definitely agree with that. My boy Sherratt hit. Yeah, I saw that. So hopefully you played Sherratt last night. I was not there at all. I don't know. Did he have anything after the goal? I just saw he scored a goal. And then Cody Eakin, I was bashing him. Forgot to take him out of my lineups. I said I was maybe going to go through and take Eakin out and replace him with another center, and then I just forgot. And then he scored 2 goals. So
short-handed one too.
Yeah.
Those are extra.
I sarcastically called the Cody Eakin double dong game, and it actually came true.
Gotta be careful what you say.
Yeah, I know. I fished into it too. So I was going to take him all out, but just forgot. So caught a break there. 9 games tonight. It is a super deep slate. It's one where you're going to need to catch up on all the information. We'll try to mention anything that changed. If you guys go read Nolan Kelly's NHL lineup change article, I think that would be the perfect day to do that. I have it pulled up right here. So he goes through, lists all the big news, like James Van Riemsdyk, Crosby out, all that stuff, and then kind of the little pieces that maybe some people miss if they are MMEing and not really paying attention to news and just letting another site do the work for them. So I'm going to post this in chat. Would definitely read up on this. You're going to see me refer to it as we go throughout the show because there's just a ton to sort through here. Anything as far as ownership we should mention, Steve?
Nothing I'm seeing right off the top. It seems pretty spread out. And I'm not sure how, some of the Vegas lines are going against my thoughts and what would be kind of natural in certain matchups. Like, I think Pittsburgh's still a favorite over Tampa, and I'm full on the Tampa smash tonight. So, it's hard to know if people are going to be slaves to the Vegas lines or if they're actually going to play the better plays.
I think a lot of people, especially like the higher volume players, use Vegas really heavily in NHL.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they factor in heavily to the projections.
Mm-hmm. Yep. For sure. Yeah. But I agree. There were some kind of weird lines, weird implied totals. So possibly a place to get an edge. I don't really have anything as far as ownership goes. I think we might see some Ottawa chalk. Could be.
Yeah, that's possible. Yeah.
Yeah, Detroit's been pretty terrible at home, or on the road. I mean, Ottawa's been okay at home. They got some of their guys back, and we've got a few playable lines for cheap. A call-up that is playing on the top power play. Drizzy Bath, as Corsi calls him. Drake, is it Batherson?
Batherson, yeah.
Batherson. Yeah. Lots to talk about. Let's go through the 9 games. We're going to start with not one of my favorite games on the night. The New York Rangers and the New York Islanders. 2.8 implied total for the Rangers. 3.2 for the Islanders. Probably going to see Henrik Lundqvist going up against Thomas Greiss. I think he is actually confirmed. We've got Hedl on the top line with Zibanejad and Zuccarello, Hayes, Kreider, and Nemestikov as the second line for the Rangers. And then looks like Kuhnhackl was moved down. I don't know if that was last game or what. We got Anthony Beauvillier back for the Islanders. Barzal with Lee and Bailey. So what are you doing with this game all around, Steve?
Yeah, so I don't think those Islanders lines are confirmed. Last I caught, Bearshot said he's still got some decisions to make, and so we could see some changes in the lineups. So I wouldn't read too much into that, Beauvillier being on the second line there.
Okay.
So that's kind of a wait-and-see approach, but luckily it's a 7 o'clock game if you have any interest in the Isles. The top line for the Rangers is somewhat interesting there with Hedel taking that spot up there with Zuccarello as a Zibanejad. He's only 3,100, but he's a center on DraftKings. So I don't know. He's interesting. I think he might see power play one time, despite what they have on daily faceoff. Because last game they sort of mixed up that last spot. He took Spooner's spot there, and I think they're just kind of making assumptions with Nemestikov staying on there.
Okay.
So I think it's reasonable we could see him still be up on the top power play unit. So he's pretty solid value for 3,100. In general, neither of these teams are generating a ton of shots offensively. The Islanders have been more about quality, though. They're pretty solid in the high danger chances recently. So they're really tough team to play a goalie against because they don't have the volume, but they have the quality. Yep. So Lundqvist is kind of out for me.
Okay.
As things stand right now, I think I do have interest in that Barzal-Bailey-Lee line. Pretty solid numbers at even strength, underlying numbers are.
Yep.
But like you said, yeah, nothing really stands out particularly in this game. I think they're just kind of evenly matched teams here.
Okay. Yeah, I was hoping you're on the same page. The Barzal line is my favorite one in this game, and then you mentioned with Edel on the top line for the Rangers makes that line a nice value, just over 15K on DraftKings. So really, it's just the top lines here. We don't know what the Islanders lines are going to look like you mentioned. So who knows if Beauvillier is on that second line. The Hayes line doesn't really do much for me, even though Hayes has been fine from a volume standpoint. Defenseman here, it's Pionk, I guess, if you're going to the top line, especially if you think that all of those guys are going to get power play one time. And then I like Pulak again, but he's priced up a little bit to 4,700.
Yeah, but that's still pretty reasonable considering now that he's on the top power play unit, so his usage has gone up. He had a really strong possession game last time, but he just didn't get that much in the way of shots and blocks as usual. Yep. Still put up a decent performance, but not kind of the upside. He didn't reach his upside really.
Yep.
So there's still room for him.
Yeah, I mean, you would agree he has pretty big upside, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty solid team. And if you look over on FanDuel, he's 4,000, and Pionk's only 4,400. So those are really solid prices over there.
Yeah, I like it. Are you playing on FanDuel again tonight as well?
Yeah, I'll probably play both sites.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet, but definitely always play on DraftKings and then FanDuel if I get to it. So we'll see. Ready to move on next game?
Yep.
All right. Devils and Flyers. We have Keith Kincaid going up against Brian Elliott. A team that I liked earlier in the day quite a bit. I still like them, the Flyers, but as some values opened up elsewhere, they're not like the top line isn't like my favorite stack right now. Couturier, Giroux, and Konechny line. Got James Van Riemsdyk back for the Flyers. Devils lines have pretty much stayed the same. No Nico Hischier again. And that's all I have as far as news. Anything sticking out to you here, Steve?
Special teams matchups, big time. I think, the Phillies got the second worst penalty kill right now. And so it's a good spot for the Devils power play. Could be a spot to use Butcher there with the top line. And in general, the Devils have been brutal on the road. They're 1-7 on the road, so really, really struggling there. I think they've been good against Philly in general. They played. I don't know. It seems like a back and forth, even series between the two teams. But I think we'll see a hard match there with Giroux against the Taylor Hall line. So it's kind of a less appealing matchup on both sides for me with those guys. But the Philly second line's kind of appealing to me. They have pretty solid. Their possession numbers aren't great, but their expected goals and quality numbers are really strong. Mm-hmm. And that second Devils line was pretty poor over a small sample. They only played one game so far together this season, but they played, I guess, another game or two last season. And just pretty poor numbers overall. So I think it's a reasonable spot for Philly too. And Voracek being on the top power play unit's pretty appealing there.
Yeah, I mean, so I like Taylor Hall. I think as a one-off, if you can get up to him at 7,600, he's pretty expensive, of course, not the greatest value. And then that Devils line, the top line, really isn't a great value overall. They're the most expensive line on the slate. And they're obviously on the road. They're going to get Couturier, so I don't love them as a full stack. it's mostly just going to be Hall if I get away from 4-3-1. And then I like what you said about the second line for the Flyers. I think they're in play as a secondary stack if you're double stacking and want to get an expensive line. Voracek, too cheap at 5,400. And this line, you mentioned they had good expected goals, 14.1 high danger chances per 60. So it all lines up pretty well for them. They're going to avoid the Hall line, which is always nice. And I think both Philadelphia 1 and 2 are in play for me, but I've kind of cooled off of Philadelphia 1 just a little bit since earlier this morning.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
and the power play is pretty interesting as well, just given the quality of guys that are on it. But the downside is there's kind of mix and match of all the lines, so it hurts the correlation.
Yeah, just that's why I like this lineup builder sheet, because you can see everything all on one page. So you see like there's 2 guys on power play 1 on the first line, and then you've got 1 guy in the second, Voracek, and then Van Riemsdyk down in the third. So full power play stack isn't actually that expensive for Philadelphia, but you're just getting so many different lines at even strength where it kind of makes it tough from a correlation standpoint. I don't really have anything on either side that I love for defensemen. I think Provorov is a fine value. I agree with Osmo there, but Gostisbehere hasn't really earned his near 6K price tag on DraftKings for me.
No, he's pretty pricey, but he would be the ideal stacking partner if I am going to use that second line. Is they just looking at what they've done the last couple of games, they hard matched, especially against a one-line team like the Devils. They're definitely going to have Provorov with skating with that Couturier line at even strength. So good correlation there. You could really use, I suppose you could use Ghost with that line as well, just because of a bit of the power play correlation. But at even strength, he's playing more with Philly too.
Yeah, I like it. And then goalies, both reasonably priced, 7,600 for Kincaid, 7,500 for Elliott. I think I prefer Elliott in this spot. Don't really love it for Kincaid, but where are you at?
Yeah, I'm okay on the goalies. They're decent. They're not great. They're pretty good. So I think they make sense if you're going to play a forward line to just correlate the goalie there.
All right. We've got the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Pittsburgh Penguins next. 2.9 implied total for the Lightning, 3.2 for the Penguins. No Sidney Crosby for Pittsburgh is the big news. Tanner Pearson makes his debut, or at least is expected to, skating on the third line with Cullen and Rust. I don't know if these lines are confirmed.
I don't know if they are either.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
So, who knows what Pittsburgh's going to do, but you said you're smashing the Lightning, so talk about them.
Their numbers are so good at even strength. Even if Crosby was playing, I'd still be all over Tampa Bay. Pittsburgh's just been so poor defensively. And now with Crosby out, it just, look how it completely weakens their center position. They were already pretty weak there with the injury to Brassard. So now Riley Sheehan is potentially your number 2 center. And if those lines stay intact right there, that Kessel, Gensel, Sheehan line has been god-awful defensively, giving up almost about over 80 shot attempts per 60 and just a brutal expected goals against. So I'm just making assumptions here, but I think the Malkin line probably sees a decent amount of the Stamkos line. So I don't know how they're going to play it really, but I think all 3 Tampa lines are in play here. If they're going to do some kind of matching and we see Tampa 2 against that Pittsburgh 2 line, then that's just an absolute smash spot for them.
Yeah.
And the power play as well. I mentioned the Canucks game the last couple times. The ref that was doing them, the number 1 guy with all the penalties and everything, he's doing this game. So expect power plays here tonight.
Oh.
It'll be interesting though, because the last 2 games he did was with the Canucks both times, and they do tend to take a decent amount of penalties. So I'm interested to see if it's him or if it's the Canucks. So
if we see 8 or 9 penalties again here, then that's probably a trend we should pay attention to in this guy. What's his name?
Someone South, I think it was.
Okay,
I forgot. Yeah, off the top of my head, but and then the other guy is ref. So this guy was pretty bad with goals per game. He's number 1, penalties and penalty minutes. and he was maybe 18th in actual power play opportunities, but the other guy he's refereeing with is 4th in power play opportunities.
Yep.
So good chance we see a lot of power plays. If you just look at the history between the two teams, tons of power plays every game. So you could see a lot of time on special teams tonight.
Okay. Yeah.
So the Lightning being correlated with their top two lines being full really nice. Stacks on the power play is very, very appealing to me tonight.
Okay. Yeah, you make a really good point there about the power plays. The ref doesn't hurt, of course. And, yeah, maybe a little bit of an oversight by me. I don't think I had Tampa high enough. So they're probably going to get bumped up after the show. No Crosby obviously helps, but especially if you're expecting Tampa to dominate possession here, a lot of defensive zone time for the Penguins. That's where you get a lot of penalties, and yeah, kind of all points to Tampa Bay here. And the correlation doesn't hurt either. So I'm sure you're going to be super heavy on Victor Hedman, and then Sergachev is 3,300. Do you just go top line with Hedman, second line with Sergachev?
Yep.
All right. And then anything for the Penguin side all over?
I want to see what the line combos are, but potentially just heavy on Malkin as well.
Okay.
He's done well without Crosby in the lineup lately. And Vasilevsky's not in net because he broke his foot. So we have Domingue in. So I think that's, yeah, I'll take a chance. It depends how those Penguin lines shape up in warm-ups. Luckily, this is the first game.
Well, yeah.
Or an early game.
I wonder if this line has been updated. Or maybe we have a line from earlier in the day. 2.9 only for Tampa here with no Crosby.
I checked it all throughout the day. It hasn't really changed much.
Huh. Okay.
Which is surprising.
I wonder, are we missing something? I don't know.
Okay. That's what I'm wondering. The Tampa Bay is getting 55% of the bets right now, and it's still Pittsburgh.
Wow.
It's the favorite.
Okay. Well, I mean, Pittsburgh's like a team everybody loves to bet on. Like the public just in general loves to bet on them, right?
The home team's had pretty good success in the season series as well.
Okay.
I don't know if those mean anything as far as maybe the betting lines go, but I just don't see how Tampa doesn't run Pittsburgh's show tonight.
Yeah. Well, Domingue blows.
Yep. Yeah. So that's why I would consider Pittsburgh.
So the Malkin line, Malkin, Hornquist, and Simone, if it's him, or whoever.
Yeah, we'll see. But I hear, the beat writers are suspecting it'll be Pearson. The problem is he hasn't practiced with them.
Yeah.
Malkin missed the optional skate today, and so Pearson was out there. So you don't know what they're going to do. We'll probably see in warm-ups, though.
It might have something to do with Tampa being overrated. Are they overrated? I don't know.
Not at all. Not at all overrated.
Okay.
Look at their underlying stats. They're very strong.
Okay. Anything else we should mention in this game? Do you like Domingue? We know he's not a great goalie, but 74.
Pittsburgh's had a hard time scoring goals lately, so yeah, he's in play for me.
Okay, and then Murray, you go in there because he's going to see a ton of shots or no?
I mean, maybe, but I'm not going to say I'm not going to have him in my 150 lineups, but he's not going to be a priority for me.
Okay, cool. I would agree with that. Florida Panthers and the Columbus Blue Jackets. More news. 2.7 implied total for the Panthers, 2.9 for the Blue Jackets. We have Korpisalo is expected to go for Columbus. No Bobrovsky. No Artemi Panarin. So that's going to get updated.
Yeah.
Both
DFO. I think DFO made a mistake there.
They took out Atkinson, right?
Yeah, they took out the wrong guy.
Yeah. So that'll get updated at some point.
Yeah. As soon as I assume they just Osmo pulls from the DFO lines.
I think it's DFO.
Or maybe from Fantasy Cruncher. I would assume he probably just uploads everything into there.
Yeah.
And then they pull directly from DFO.
Okay, that would make sense then. Yeah, I saw that on DFO. It's like, wait, is Atkinson out? But yeah, it's gonna be Atkinson with Dubois probably, and then who knows after that. It's always a crapshoot with Columbus lines. Yep. And usually you can count on that top line staying together, but now with no Panarin, you just don't really know. So I lean towards Florida's side here. Barkov line is one of my highest projected. They're just not that great of a value. I'm still going to take some shots there. And then the second line, obviously the better value. Columbus doesn't hard match, so you just kind of play the best lines against them is what I try to do. So where are you at here, Steve?
I'm on the Florida side in general. This is another game with a puzzling Vegas line. especially after the news came out. Maybe initially when they thought Bob and Panarin were still in, then I could see them being favorites. But given the injury situation, I don't see why Florida's not the favorite.
Yeah, and I mean, no Bobrovsky in there, like just a 2.7 implied total for Florida. That's kind of weird. So I don't know. Maybe we're just way off here. But
yeah, could be. Very, very well could be.
Yeah.
Maybe they know something we don't. I don't know. But then the potential for other guys in the room to be sick as well. So
yeah. So who knows? Might see some surprise scratches. Definitely want to be around your computer, phone if you're making limited lineups around lock time, because could be some scrambling going on, as if there hasn't already been enough today.
Yeah.
Nobody respects my boy Boone Jenner. Do you like any Columbus lines here?
Yeah, I think both top two would be pretty good, assuming they stay Atkinson, Dubois, Bjorkstrand. That could be a pretty solid possession line. Mm-hmm. And the second line's had some pretty good underlying numbers as well. So I really don't have a preference between those two. I think they're both in play.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, looking at the Florida lines here, normally I'd be all over the Barkov-Dadonov combo. I like them in general. They're really strong plays. They always seem to score. But looking at their underlying numbers, they're really not all that strong offensively at even strength.
Yeah. That's kind of puzzling, right? I mean, you wouldn't expect them to be terrible or worse with Hoffman up there, at least offensively, right?
Yeah. Maybe just because of their tough matchups all the time.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they've had a bunch of road games in a row and they're getting hard matched or something against good shutdown lines. I don't remember their schedule off the top of my head. Jenner is always a cash play. He's just a guy that shoots it quite a bit. He's under 5K. I like him and Anderson together and fully, if you want to complete the full stack, assuming that line stays together. Do you like Florida 2 here? I don't know if you mentioned them yet.
So offensively, they're really high event in general. Really high event numbers. So they've seemed to be better offensively than the Barkov line as far as just the underlying numbers go. The Barkov line scoring more goals. So I think that'll even out. We'll probably see the second line scoring a little bit more, but they're also worse defensively too. So it shapes up pretty good. If you assume that and I know you said Columbus doesn't hard match, but maybe their depth lines see a bit more of the Florida depth lines. Mm-hmm. So that makes the general line appealing for me too. I think, you can kind of mix and match some of these lines here.
For sure. Kind of like a Montreal situation with Florida right now with Danault and Domi. The Danault line, much better possession numbers, but the Domi's scoring every game somehow.
Yeah.
And their numbers are just completely awful. Anything else for the forwards or defensemen you're targeting heavily besides the obvious ones here? Jones.
Yes. So Jones, Yandel, they're obvious being on the top power play units, but I think Ryan Murray is interesting as a cheap guy. 3,900, I think it is. He has been playing a ton of minutes lately since he got moved to the top pairing with Jones. So he's a reasonable value tonight.
Okay.
I think he was blocking a lot of shots. Yep. Yeah. Well, last game he had 4 blocks. And Florida's a pretty high event team, so could see some volume here.
I like it. Goalies, we've got Luongo, who I actually like a decent amount. And then Korpisalo, you messing with him?
Probably no Korpisalo, but I'll play Luongo. I do like Luongo.
Okay.
He's played great so far. Reasonable price. But yeah, he's been pretty consistent, and Columbus doesn't have Panarin, so and no Blob, so so that helps his win equity, I suppose.
There you go.
Yeah.
Detroit and Ottawa, the marquee game of the night. We've got a 2.9 implied total for the Red Wings, 3.2 for the Senators. James Howard in net for Detroit, Craig Anderson for the Sens. If you saw my projections today, if you played around on Fantasy Cruncher, you probably saw an obscene amount of Senators in your lineup. Detroit has been terrible on the road. Ottawa has been okay at home. And just expecting a ton of chances both ways here. Steve, tell me why I'm crazy, first of all, for liking Ottawa.
No, it makes sense. Both teams are terrible defensively, so I think you can really look to both sides of this matchup. But they also don't, their underlying numbers aren't great. Both teams have terrible 5-on-5 shot attempt and shot quality numbers. So that's kind of interesting, but they're so bad defensively. So I think it's worth taking a shot. here. I think the both power plays are kind of interesting. Detroit is, they're not up there as well. Actually, they're pretty much up there in penalty minutes, but they're also really bad. They're second worst in the league at power play opportunities allowed. So Ottawa will have plenty of chances here, and their power play has been very strong. It's been the 6th best so far this year. And on the other side, Ottawa has the worst penalty kill in the league by a wide margin. And so Detroit power play is interesting here. So guys like Green and Chabot are very strong defensive blocks to build around tonight.
Yep. Good old Tommy Chabot. I think he's my highest projected player on the slate just for blocks, and he's going to see a ton of minutes, and I really love Ottawa. So going to be one of my highest exposed players even at 6,300. And yeah, I do like Green as well for 5,400. Man, I just love the top 2 lines for Ottawa. I think I lean towards White, Tkachuk, Stone, but this new guy, Batherson, was practicing on the top power play earlier today as well.
Yeah, you see that confirmed?
Of course, he sent me a tweet or something earlier today. Let me see.
Because he's a scorer. He's been a scorer, kind of a late bloomer scorer. He did really well in the AHL before playing, and he had 7 points in his last couple games, something along those lines. And he's a shooter. He will put the puck on net, so he's a very strong value overall. Yeah, if he gets power play time, then that's really, really good.
I can't find it on Twitter, but I heard he was on the top power play. So even if he's
okay, well, as long as you saw something, that's all that matters.
Okay,
I'll take that.
Yep.
Take your word for it.
All right.
So do you know who comes off that power play? Can you tell? Do you remember?
There were no centers, so it was Duchesne that was off of it.
Duchesne wasn't on the top power play unit?
No, it was White, actually.
White was off. Okay.
Yeah, White. All right. I'm kind of talking myself into a hole here. Now I don't remember what it was.
Okay, no, that's fine.
Let me try to find it.
So I'll just keep looking for it. That's fine. So we'll just look into that a little bit more.
Okay.
Right now, yeah, the way the power play unit goes is not really a ton of correlation. So you can do some specific power play stacks and then just some specific even strength stacks. But I think it's a great spot for their power play.
Yeah, I love it. And then, so you probably like the Larkin line over the second Detroit line here. Do you have any interest in the second Detroit line with Athanasiou and Nielsen and Nyquist?
Yeah, for sure. I think they're pretty solid. I think Athanasiou's price is way up there, though. Yeah, he's 6,900.
Yeah,
holy shit.
That's ridiculous.
So that's a bit much. That's a bit much for me for a guy that can go invisible at times.
Yep.
He's been on a hot streak, but he can also completely disappear.
Yeah. It's just, I didn't even notice his price. Like I just look at the line prices for the most part, and man, I did not realize he was almost 7K.
Yeah, he's 4,800 on FanDuel, so good there man. For sure. Yeah, love it more there.
Yeah, and just
Mantha's still 4K on FanDuel.
Yeah, I think Chabot is 4,900.
Yeah, so, Chabot, come on.
Just, have fun with this game on FanDuel.
Yeah.
Tierney is going to go up against Larkin. Is that what you have as well?
That's my guess. He's been doing the shutdown thing at home, so that's really good for the top 2 Ottawa lines because the depth Detroit lines are pretty poor.
Yep, and it's really awesome for the Larkin line as well. So.
Yeah, for sure. So the problem is all the correlation in this game. Yeah. That's the tough part. It's tough for stacking. You can do mini stacks, or you can just do random power play stacks and stuff like that. The best part about Ottawa being chalky, or if they are chalky, is every combination is not going to be individually chalky on its own.
Yeah.
So you can still differentiate by using them.
Right. I don't think a lot of people are going to play this Batherson guy in his first game. People just don't play guys coming up right away.
Yeah.
It seems like if they don't know the name.
I think he's a strong play.
Yeah. Love it. Still trying to find the thing about the power play, but whatever. We'll move on.
That's right. Yeah, it's something to look into later.
Yeah. Goalies here. Anderson, I prefer much more than Howard, but.
Yeah, I can see. I don't know. I can see this being a correlation spot with my goalies.
Yeah. That is just the price thing on DraftKings. I don't want to pay $8,100 for Jimmy Howard when I like the offense going against him.
Oh yeah. That's a bit much, especially because there's not going to be a lot of. I don't expect a lot of shot volume.
Right.
From either team. Like neither one generates a ton. Mm-hmm. So I think they score more than they shoot kind of deal.
Yep. All right, let's go to the Vancouver Canucks against the Minnesota Wild. Richard Bachman going for the Canucks. Devin Dubnyk going for the Wild. 2.3 implied total for the Canucks. 3.3 for the Wild. 2.3 I think is the lowest on the slate by a decent margin. And in the Wild, one of the highest in the slate. So pretty lopsided game overall. Man, I am having trouble finding anything I really want to play on Vancouver, even with a bunch of lineups tonight. I really, really love the stall line for Minnesota. One note is that Zach Parise is questionable, so pay attention to that. Also, Bruce Boudreau said there might be some stuff being mixed up tonight.
Yeah,
so
I hate that.
He didn't say what it was. I would think they keep the stall line together, but if Parise's out, everything could just be thrown into the blender. So this one you will not know by time we get to lock. You're going to have to wait the extra half hour and check at 7:30 Eastern. But where are you at on this game overall, Steve?
Well, obviously the Wild is in a very strong spot. The Canucks have been mixing and matching their lines all the time, so it's really hard to play anything there. I think you can probably just avoid Vancouver. They would be an interesting play from a contrarian standpoint only, but otherwise I don't see a lot that I like here from them.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't like, with no clarity on the Wild lines, they like to hard match. You don't know exactly what they're going to do with Koivu. Like, do they consider Pettersson the top line already, or are they going with Horvat? Do they think Horvat's the top center or whatever? And then with the Parise thing, kind of just throws a wrinkle into that. So it's mostly just the stall line, assuming they stay together. And then I don't really have much else from a forward's perspective here.
Yeah, pretty much the same with me. The Wild are going to have to be a wait and see. I would just load in the most expensive line and then give yourself room to pivot if you have to later in case things change. I think that's probably the way to go.
Kind of like with San Jose, I think 2 nights ago, where if you play the Couture line, you could swap to Pavelski and Kane. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, just fill in the more if you really like the spot, just fill in the most expensive line. Yeah, and then keep an eye on things later.
Yep, love it. Defensemen, the Wild always have a bunch. Suter, Dumba. I prefer Dumba, but a little bit of a pricing discrepancy at 5,700. And he's not on the top power play with Stahl, Zucker, Granlund. That could all change. So I think Suter, Dumba, and Spurgeon are all in play at their price points.
Yep.
And then good block shot spot here for Vancouver.
Yeah, I think so.
Guys? Hutton.
Yeah. Hutton's kind of the guy I have my eye on. He's got the most offensive upside to go with some block. Like, actually, he's not really been blocking a ton of shots.
Tanev, 2,900. I think
Goodbranson's been blocking. Not even a ton. Who's the shot blocker here?
I thought it was Tanev. At least I thought he was one of the guys that was kind of willing to do it.
Yeah, he's got that's
few.
reasonable.
Yeah.
So maybe some value there, but there's probably better value options, I think, at similar price tags with more offensive upside. So, he could maybe he can get you guaranteed 2 points on DraftKings, something like that. But if you're playing top-heavy GPPs and stuff, you want the upside there.
Yeah. Yep. Bachman, 6,800. Dubnyk, 8,400. Largest pricing discrepancy for goalies you'll see almost ever. Bachman probably going to see a decent amount of shots. I still don't even love him for 6,800. I don't think he's got a good chance at a win at all here. The Wild should roll. And then Dubnyk, I just don't think he's going to see the shot volume to be one of the guys I want in GPPs. Like, if he does the Marc-Andre Fleury thing last night and gets a shutout, then you're golden. But outside of that, just not much upside for tournaments.
Yeah, you need things to go pretty much perfectly. So, yeah, not a ton of interest in the goalies here. I mean, Dubnyk is safe. He's as safe as you're going to get tonight, but yeah, low point per dollar projection, you could say.
Agreed. Montreal and Calgary, we've got Carey Price going up against Mike Smith. 2.7 implied total for the Canadiens, 3.2 for the Flames. Calgary likes to hard match when they're at home. The question is, who is the back in line going to match? We've got Domi on an absolute tear. He's up to 6,500 on DraftKings. My initial lean was that Backlund would be going up against Danault, Tatar, Gallagher, because they've been the better line for the entirety of the season. But what do you see happening here as far as line matching, and then what does that mean from a DFS perspective?
Yeah, that's the tricky part for me is I wonder if they'll take note of the hot streak of Domi and Drouin right now. Because honestly, I would probably, if I'm putting myself in the seat of an NHL coach, I would probably assume they would take the Domi line as the top line, which is, yeah.
Yeah, that's disgusting. Cause,
yeah, so I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, you can make some assumptions here, but I think obviously you'd like to play against, in either side of this matchup, you would like to play against the Domi line and you'd like to play against the Monahan line.
Right.
But we just don't know how that's going to shape up. So that's why, it'd be, if we knew for a fact, it would be super easy to handle this game, but otherwise it's kind of tough.
Yeah, maybe we get some lower expected ownership on Monahan, Gaudreau, Lindholm. I mean, God, it's just annoying that Domi's on this hot streak, because otherwise it would be super, super easy, like you said. And you can just fire up Calgary 1 and Montreal 2 if you wanted to.
Yep.
So I'm assuming you're going to have Calgary 1 exposure here, but probably...
Yeah. They're playing a lot of minutes, and they're at home. They can choose the matchups they want. So I think they're the strongest play here in this game. Makes sense. They're all in the top power play unit together, so that's all really appealing. So just off the top of my head, that would be the top option. But I will probably mix and match all of the top 2 from each team in this game.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. I'm going to have the most Calgary 1, but probably will have sprinkles of the Domi line. Danault line for sure, just because they've been really awesome at even strength. And then the back line, if for some reason they go up against Domi, would be a really, really good spot with Bennett at only 3,100 on DraftKings. Defenseman here, it's really easy. It's just Mark Giordano in a ton of my lineups. I love him for 5,600. He's shooting a bunch, playing almost 25 minutes a night. Hard to avoid, honestly, on this slate for me at 5,600, and especially if you are playing Calgary 1, he just correlates so well with them on the power play, that is.
Yeah, he rates out pretty highly for me too.
Okay. Anything on Montreal's side?
Petrie is interesting. I think Schlemko is also a guy that's going to be under the radar here. Just returned from injury. They brought him in to be a power play guy, and they mixed and matched their power play unit last game. They started, I think, with Riley. They used Petrie on one of them, and then the very last one of the game, they had Schlemko on there.
Okay.
So at 3K, he's worth a chance here as a cheap guy.
Yep, has seen 20 minutes in each of his first 2 games. So I like it for 3K. Goalies, Carey Price at 7,100. Osmo does not like him even as a value. He's got him as a C value at 7,100. And Mike Smith, I don't know how I'd pay that price for him.
Yeah.
But, so
neither has been good. Neither goalie's been good. Yeah. Maybe just a sprinkle of each in correlated lineups, but neither will be a target for me.
All right, I'm with you there. Nashville and Arizona. We've got probably Pecorine going up against Darcy Kemper, who is just 6,900 on DraftKings at home. 2.9 implied total for the Preds, 2.6 for the Coyotes. This is one where I don't really have much exposure to it at all. Low totals for each team. No Victor Arvidsson for the Predators, so Kevin Fiala moves up to the top line. Cal Yarncroc moves to Fiala's spot on the second line. So that kind of ruins the second line for me. The top line for Nashville's cheap enough, or at least they're affordable enough, where I think they're usable, but I don't see myself having much exposure in anything in this game. Where are you at, Steve?
I do think a couple lines are interesting. I do like Forsberg there. Arizona's got a pretty poor expected goals against. So it's a decent spot for them. I think they're the better team in general. Subban being out kind of hurts Nashville defensively. If you look at their last couple games, I think uncharacteristically bad in the high danger chances allowed. If you look at 5-on-5 against the Ducks, they had 1 high danger chance for, 10 against the Ducks of all teams.
Wow.
And they were trailing. And then against the Sharks the next night, it was 7-4 and 17 against.
Wow.
So I do have some interest in the step-on line there with Keller and Perlini. Their numbers are pretty solid. They had a really good game against Detroit from a possession standpoint, underlying numbers, but didn't really materialize into anything results-wise. But they're kind of interesting here without Subban.
So the step on line, not Galchenyuk, Panik, and Fisher. I mean, they're all super cheap. I guess maybe an oversight by me again there.
Just well, the problem is they have a hard time scoring goals. They go through cold stretches, so they generate the shots, but they don't. They generate a lot of shots, but they just don't get a lot of goals. So I think Rene is really interesting too.
Okay, Rene is at 7,900. A usable price for him there.
Yeah, I was just gonna say when you mentioned both lines, the Galchenyuk line hasn't been generating anything at even strength. Actually, no, it's only been one solid game, so I shouldn't read too much into that. But I just think the Stepan Perlini Keller one has much better numbers offensively.
All right, and then on the blue line here, you mentioned no PK Subban. I forgot about that one off the top. Probably a bump to Ryan Ellis minutes-wise. And then we're showing Ekholm on the top power play. Is that what it's going to be?
I don't know. They did that heavily last game. They're weird with their power play units. I don't know what's going on. Obviously, I think Yossi's the strongest play in this game from a defenseman standpoint. Just given his minutes, even before Subban got hurt, he's really been ramping up the minutes, and his shots and blocks have been solid too.
Okay.
So he's a very, very strong play tonight with no Subban, but I think that Ekholm sees a boost.
And then Ekman Larson, any of these punts, Osterley, Jason Demers, any of these guys you like?
Small amounts, I suppose, if you're playing any of the Arizona offense, but as standalones, no one really stands out here. Maybe Osterley or Kanadin. Kanadin's pretty good block guy.
Yep. Yeah, he is.
So but at 3,300, I don't know. There's a few more guys with more upside around that price tag, so I'm likely to just go there.
Okay. Did we mention goalie? You mentioned Rene. Kemper.
Yeah. I like Rene a lot.
Well.
Kemper's cheap. Yeah. Kemper's cheap. Maybe you get a tired Nashville team here playing their third road game in 4 nights. Possibly you could use him if you want it as a correlated goalie, but Rene is the actual heavy target here for me.
Got it. All right, I think last game of the night, Toronto Maple Leafs and San Jose Sharks. 2.8 implied total for the Leafs, 3.1 for the Sharks. Frederik Andersen, Martin Jones, as expected. Tomas Hertl is out for the Sharks, so they've done a little bit of jumbling with their lines. We've got Logan Couture centering Joe Pavelski and Timo Meier, and then the quote-unquote second line with Thornton, LeBanc, Sorensen. But I also like that third line with Sumela, Kane, and Donskoy. They've had some ridiculous numbers together at even strength, and they're just dirt cheap as a whole. So what are you doing on the Sharks side? And then you can talk about Toronto too.
I think all 3 Sharks lines are appealing. Obviously, the top one stands out as having all that talent there.
Yep.
They're pretty much 3 best offensive players. I think you can even make an argument that they're better than Kane, just given results. But I think all 3 lines have very solid numbers. That Sumela line, even the third line, has very strong possession numbers. They don't give up much defensively. They're generating a decent amount. Reasonable expected goals for kind of numbers, but nothing too special. And just looking at the Thornton line, what they're doing, they're pretty bland, the Thornton ones. So maybe not. I'm not as interested in them. They do have they very low event as far as shot attempts, but they're always high quality for and against.
Yeah.
So maybe you can include them, but not super appealing to me. I'm much more interested in the other 2 lines.
Agreed. And then the Tavares, Marner, Hyman line was coming up a little bit for me, even at super expensive price tags. The Sharks have given up the 5th most high danger chances against per 60 over the last 10 games. So that's my interest on Toronto side. Tavares, Marner, I don't think they're going to be super heavily owned, and I think it's actually an okay spot for them. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I like them a lot. Yeah, I think they're in a great spot. I don't even mind Kadri Marleau there. I think their power play is obviously still their best weapon if you're going to use that line. I think Matthews being out really helps someone like Kadri.
Yeah, just gets a bump, minutes, power play time, all that stuff.
But,
or I guess not power play time. He was playing on the top unit before, right?
Yeah, but I think more being a shooter or being a go-to guy on the power play without Matthews there.
Sure.
So that really helps him. But yeah, Tavares Marner, that's the ideal one. You can maybe go Hyman or mix in a Kadri or Marlowe as a 3-man forward stack. But overall, yeah, good spot for them. I like it.
Most expensive defenseman on the night is not Brent Burns, not Erik Karlsson. It is Morgan Rielly at $6,800. Osmo has him as an E value. Not even, worse than an F here for Morgan Rielly as far as value goes. He's actually been really solid for DFS, but I think just too expensive for me. So outside of Tavares, Marner, Rielly trios, if you're getting really crazy, he's not going to really be in any of my lineups. But Brent Burns and Erik Karlsson will be for me. I'm sure you're on the same page.
Yeah, for sure. It was interesting to see that Karlsson started the power play 1 last game for them, not Burns, and saw more power play time. So that's really good for his value overall.
You think they're just trying to get him going?
Could be. It could be.
Did he? I didn't check his last game. You shouldn't take 1-game samples, but I just want to see, did he attempt a couple extra shots? What's going on?
He only had 1 shot on goal result, but he played it 6 more minutes than the previous game.
Oh.
Yeah, who knows? I think we'll probably see a bit of inconsistency until he gets going.
Yeah. Huh. Let's see if I can find it quick. By team games.
But yeah, in general, I think both guys are good plays, Burns and Karlsson. As I've mentioned many times, the Leafs are really not good against defensemen, so good opportunities for them.
Oh,
and
shots,
so.
Right? Yeah. So Martin Jones is $7,400. I know the DFS community hates him, but he is cheap and he is a home favorite here, and I like the Sharks. So I think he's a fine correlation option. What do you think about Jones and Frederik Andersen here?
Slightly more interested in Andersen. I just think he's a much better goalie.
Mm-hmm.
I rarely like to play Jones. So
yeah,
he's always hard to talk into for me.
That's fair. All right. I haven't checked chat in a while. Let's see what's going on in there. Kyle Turris, revenge. Schlemko, revenge. Okay. Just a lot of guys with revenge games. There's probably 20 revenge games every night. Step Online is pretty cheap, though, isn't it? Yep. I think we mentioned them. Matt. What else do we have here? Oh, okay. From Corsi. Left wing lock has Batherson, Kachuk, Stone, Bobby Ryan, and Shabbat. So yeah, the beat writer from yesterday had White in place of Batherson. I'm sorry, the other way around. So who knows? But
interesting.
He's 3,200, right? So
yeah, totally fine.
Still playable. Revisit Tampa Bay D-men with Strawman out. Does that do anything for you?
No, it's still just going to correlate my defenseman with my forward stacks there. So Sergachev with Tampa 2 and Hedman with Tampa 1.
Yep. I would agree with that. All right. Anything we should do on the lineup builder quick that you thought of during the show? I'm trying to think what we could do. Tampa 1. I haven't played around with the Tampa builds, so I'm gonna try.
Yeah, see what we can get with Tampa 1 and Hedman all in the same stack.
So we got Tampa 1, Hedman. One line that's coming to mind is that Step-on line that you liked.
Yeah, they're reasonable. Maybe Philly 2 is pretty cheap, I think, was another one reasonable that I liked. Let me see what else, cheap-wise. Maybe Calgary too, possibly.
Yeah, Bennett, super cheap.
Yeah.
Yep, you can do that for sure. With Hedman, you can do
Ottawa 1, probably.
Can you really?
Well, Batherson's 3,200.
The Duchesne line. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, Duchesne. Yeah, sorry.
No, that's good. Yeah, you can definitely do that. And you can do a lot with Tampa 1 plus Hedman. So
Yep. So that's pretty solid.
yeah. No Crosby, I guess. Gonna need to go and make some manual adjustments there. What else? Someone wants, or Bobby Boom wants guaranteed goals in top 2 stacks. So if you had to narrow it down to like 2 or 3 stacks, who would you say your top ones are?
Tampa 1 and 2. Just combine that as one line. Yeah, that's the top one for me.
Just Tampa.
Just Tampa, both of them. Yeah, just all Tampa. Tampa 1, 2, 3.
All right, I think I really like the Stahl line if it stays together. But,
Yeah.
I'll mention a couple other ones. I'm really high on Couture with Timo and Pavelski, and then I love Ottawa, specifically the top one, but the second one's also really awesome as well. So,
Yep. Yeah, I'll mix and match a lot of different Ottawa pieces, I think.
yeah, it should be a fun slate. I'm really interested to see Ottawa ownership, especially at the higher stakes, because I mean their total is not like out of whack, but I just want to see, like, it's clearly a very good spot for them and Detroit. So I want to see both sides of that game and see if I'm.
Yeah, I imagine Ottawa will be popular.
Okay. Yeah, Larkin line, game stack, Detroit and Ottawa. What a world we live in. Game stacking Detroit and Ottawa on a 9-game slate. Anything else we should mention before we get out of here, Steve?
Nothing really stands out. Just keep an eye on those early games there. Luckily, the 7 p.m. games are the ones with the biggest question marks. I mean, Pittsburgh lines is very important to me to decide how much exposure I'm going to have to them, and then maybe kind of what Tampa lines I'm going to go heavier on. So that's a very important spot to me. Islanders lines could change. Keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on the Columbus lines. Those aren't locked in place either. And then keep an eye on Parise. I think those are the main things to watch out for tonight.
Yeah, guys, keep an eye out for all the news. Give us a like if you did enjoy this show. Be back tomorrow. Nolan Kelly is going to be on the show for the first time, so that'll be fun. We've got, I think, 6 games tomorrow. Thanks for watching tonight, and we will hopefully see you at the top of the leaderboards on FanDuel and DraftKings.